Alex Ansary on the Archons 101. And what this video is my own understanding of what the Archons are and how they operate, and how we protect ourselves from the Archons, why we're in this situation that we're in. What is our karmic relationship with the Archons? So there are certain things that I believe to be true, and it's my own information. I want to share with you where I'm coming from and what I believe. And in doing so, some of us may be able to share information at a faster rate than waiting for a few months to go by, because this is the time that many have awakened to the Archonic agenda, which is in fact behind the New World Order. This non-human intelligence is something that a lot of people speculate on what it is, and if it's related to the jinn, and if it's related to the Christian demons. And even though there are some comparisons, some very strong comparisons, in particular in the Nag Hammadi texts, which you can learn more about, as they were discovered in Nag Hammadi, Egypt in 1945. Many people are now talking about the Archons. By the way, this is something that John Lash introduced to the scene in one of his books, and Laura Eisenhower, David Icke, and many others. There's a YouTube channel by the name of Star Gods who gives some very interesting perspectives on the Archons. So many people are now discussing the Archons, and there is information coming out at an alarming rate, and I am doing what I am doing as someone that has had experience dealing with interference from that which I could describe to be robotic and coming from the unseen realms. I never knew about the term Archon prior to the year 2012. As soon as I saw the term Archon from Alfred Weber in his interview with Laura Eisenhower, something inside me was yelling quite loudly within my inner self or higher self, you need to look at this area. This is relevant, and I always get that feeling. I get that feeling when I know that something is drawing me in to look at it. And I think that that is my higher self, or maybe the voice inside that is connected with the Supreme Being. Now I want to say this. Even though I am not a follower of any religion, I have always had an affinity for the Supreme Being. And in many, many cases have I felt looked after by the Supreme Being. And in many cases and circumstances, at least in my own mind, I am on the side of the good guys and the light in this battle to protect the earth and her children. And even though this sounds new agey to some people, even though this sounds egotistical to some people, I do think that I'm here on this planet to advance my own skills and abilities at demon slaying or erasing Archons with the power of my own consciousness. And I am learning about some of these things and meditation techniques because I have come under attack in ways that I won't even begin to get into in this video. So it's through first-hand experience and seeing patterns. I've talked before in other videos in relation to the sun about pattern recognition, seeing the patterns, seeing that cat cross your path twice, deja vu, like in the movie The Matrix. And so I've come to recognize, well, this is a very interesting pattern of people acting in a very specific, dark way to me, all of a sudden. And noticing those patterns when I'm in a growth period, a lot of foreign energy coming in to distract me. So you can learn about the Archons from some of these people and from the Nag Hammadi texts, and you can watch movies like Dark City and see an excellent metaphor, allegory for what we're looking at here. And I think that this awakening is very much tied to this awakening of the Archons and how they manipulate people on the earth, which is through the mind, turning human against human. Not a physical alien invasion, but an actual invasion of the mind. Now, the concept of the mind being invaded is not a foreign concept to pop culture. Zombie apocalypse. 28 days later relates to some very scary group behavior. Archonic's a little different, though, than zombie. And you can have some fairly good-looking, intelligent people, successful people, that aren't running around eating brains, that are very much infected by the archonic consciousness. Now, it's about the archonic consciousness more than bloodline in some cases. David Icke makes the case for the bloodlines being more likely to possession from these archonic influences. I think that that is something that may be very, very relevant for those with Rh negative blood, or certain bloodlines, certain Anglo-Saxon bloodlines. I can see that, but I don't see how this is simply something that we see in white people. I think the whole world, all of humanity, for the most part, is subjected to archonic torment. And there may be certain factors with bloodlines, black, white, Hispanic, how brown we are, whether we're associated with, the earth races or races that came after. Regardless, I've seen many darker skinned people very much affected by the archonic hive mind system. And there's certain traits where you can recognize arconicism, the archonic traits, and anti-feminine, anti-human, bloodthirsty, lack of empathy, and all about control, manipulation, conformity. So we see humans, and it may seem strange to call them a demon or an archon, but we see many humans that have serious anti-human archonic tendencies that are non-empathetic. They don't like other humans. They want to see mass death, control, destruction, structure, and they're afraid of the light itself. So we see certain influences from the archonic world penetrate the world of the human, or the earth human. Now this is very specific because I think there's different versions of human. And a lot of times in my language, things will come out from my sixth sense that I'm not fully aware of. And I realized that when I was in Dallas, I was talking more about archonic bloodlines or archonic women, and I was talking more about missing the feminine energy. And I think this is more about vibrational frequency necessarily than bloodline, even though there may be some factors with bloodline. But vibrational frequency. To say that if you're in an environment that's very angry, very unfriendly to the earth, and people that have an affinity for the earth, if it's all about machines and money and lust and greed and domination and wars and corporations, if you have a vibrational frequency of all those archonic things, it could permeate and affect all the people. So you have archonic people, archonic men, archonic women, non-earth men, non-earth women, people that have been removed from the earth and being grounded and being infected up here. So many cities. This is another reason why I actually went off the grid. For those of you that don't know, I wanted to get away from what I perceive to be the horn's nest, one of many archonic horn's nests, and those are major cities. They're harvesting centers of energy, where there's hatred and mankind turned against mankind or womankind. They're dark entities that are literally siphoning and feeding off of that energy. What you see in the Matrix, just like when they're concerned about, oh my God, the robots know where we are, we have to shields down or become invisible or get out of the way. There's a couple scenes where that's taking place. That I feel in spirit. And so when you are looking at the direction of the Archons, this is why I'm placing emphasis on being grounded and having a spiritual center and having a relationship to the Creator and asking the Supreme Being to intervene and remove cords when necessary. Remove the tracking devices. And I don't necessarily mean literal ones, actual alien implants, but the etheric implants where people are tracked or flagged because of the power that they hold, because of what they're saying or because of what they're going to say, like the movie The Terminator, where he realizes that Sarah Connor is going to give birth to John Connor. So they go back in time to fuck things up for John Connor so he doesn't become this revolutionary leader. The same things are happening energetically. Now, are these Archons going back and forth between time? How detailed does the Archonic story get? You're going to have to refer to the Nagamati if you want to get into schematics. But as soon as I started learning about the term, I started to be able to zone in on the energy of what I've been dealing with in my own lifetime and perhaps in others. And I've had people come up to me that didn't use the term Archon with me, but they describe what was taking place, energetic interference, and the need to disconnect from the cords, from the surveillance, and basically remove those things out of my field. And then it later on became clear to me that I have to learn how to ground myself. Someone else just can't come in and just clear it. You need to be able to clear yourself. But when there is archonic sabotage, or sabotage from these groups that prior to the last few years were just called reptilians, now many people are starting to believe that the Archons are controlling the reptilians, because the Archons can't come down to Earth. They're anti-Earth. They hate the Earth. They hang out and do things remotely from somewhere else. They are the Borg. They are behind the transhumanistic agenda. They are the machine, but they're soulless and working on behalf of the demiurge. All this is in the Nag Hammadi text, the demiurge being comparable to Lucifer or Satan. So this is really interesting to understand. I see certain themes here that ring true to me, and I see people get very into the language. Is it a demon? Is it an Archon? Is it a jinn? And I don't think that that's where we need to look. I think the area that we need to look is, why are we under attack to begin with? What is it that we have that they don't? And we learn from the text they're jealous of us. They hate us. And there's something about the feminine that they're repelled by. And they're also jealous that they can't have the same experience that we have, to have this imagination, to be able to create something, not just invert something and warp it. So there's a lot of hatred there. And if you're not living a spiritual lifestyle, you can be affected by this, even if you're looking at the direction of Archons and you think that you're against them. And I've seen people develop a somewhat healthy interest in the subject, get taken over by fear, by anger, because if you have those lower vibrational emotions or chakras out of balance, then you can be manipulated through those chakras. And you can have energy sent to you. And if you can recognize, and I'm constantly being attacked in my third chakra, shit moving around, trying to make me upset, all types of colors. And by becoming aware of it, I can zone in on that and ground it out. And I found a lot of people out there that teach people about some of these skills at protecting yourself and grounding your energy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that think if you look in these directions that you are afraid, that you are giving up your power. Or worse yet, that you're engaging in some New Age babble. When in reality, this is not about channeling other beings, which is what a lot of mainstream New Age teachings are. There are people telling you that we are in this galactic age, the bad guys have been removed, and we are so close to the celebration and the volcanic eruptions, but we're so close. Just hang on, and it's going to happen for you. It's going to happen. We're promising it. And I'm not here to put anyone down that's working on becoming more conscious. I'm not here to support belief systems that say that things will be fixed for us. I think that those belief systems have been injected by the Archons, the Archonic worldview, to keep us from focusing on our own spiritual path and evolution. Trust me, it's not easy to talk about these things, because there's a whole lot of energies out there that prefer that I don't. But I suspect that there's a lot of other energies of good out there that do support me speaking about these things. And I believe that we live in a free will universe and matrix, where despite the fact that these things are taking place, that the whole structure matrix has been set up for you to do the right thing, for you to be supported if you do the right thing. And it doesn't mean that there's never going to be a reprisal or repercussion. It's about riding out that repercussion, whether it be just a little bit of interference or someone knocking you off. There is life beyond this life. That much I am certain of. So I am going to share what I'm learning about the Archons, and that this is about humans realizing their own light and imagination and soul's essence is what can defeat the Archons. And what they really don't want is us putting our minds together and visualizing their dark grid dissolving more and more and more. We've got confirmation, ladies and gentlemen, that people that have been on this path for a long time of trying to take down the dark grid and expose the light, expose the truth. We have a lot of evidence that they've come under some serious attack in recent years. So this is more confirmation that what we've been doing all of these years is the right thing. And when we come back in just another video or so, I want to talk a little bit more about some of these concepts. Stay tuned.